Hey y'all, familiar face on today. Of course, it's me, but we have Jeff Kerr on today from CBS Sports. Big weekend in Philly sports. Had an amazing day. I think it started back Thursday, where you kind of roll the dice and you're like, how good or how bad is this day going to be? And a lot of going on Twitter where we pay a lot of attention to what silly people are saying. We're like, you see a lot of really Debbie Downer stuff. I don't know. What was that like for you, Jeff?
I kind of just skimmed through Twitter. I tried not to get too much into the fan accounts here because I think fans always think the negative no matter what. The Eagles could have drafted the greatest player of all time and they would have found something wrong with Howie Roseman. I saw some people complaining about Howie Roseman already after this draft, and I'm like,
oh my God, are you kidding me?
The reason why I think the Howie Roseman defenders are so obsessed with it is because the people that don't want to give him credit for anything are so vocal. So there's no middle ground here. And I try telling people, look, he's a top 10 GM in the league. Just embrace it and move on.
I guess on the high end, he's kind of what we hope, our guy, our quarterback, Jalen Hurts is. He puts you in a position to win every year. That's really what you can kind of hope for. And he never gets. I've never seen really Howie get fleeced, except for making bad picks. He got fleeced by like a Jalen Rager, but you never say like the Eagles did a deal with the Bengals and it was a bad deal.
No, and I don't remember the last time Howie Roseman really got fleeced on a deal that was like a major deal.
No.
I mean, the last time the Eagles probably got fleeced on a deal was when LaShawn McCoy was traded for Kiko Alonso, and
you can't blame him for that.
No, you can't. And he wasn't the GM there. It was Chip Kelly, and it's not like Kiko was terrible here. It's just you trade the franchise's all-time leading rusher for Kiko Alonso. So
in his prime as well.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. Like, LaShawn McCoy and Deshaun Jackson should have been here a lot longer than they were actually here. And that's the real shame of it all.
Oh, absolutely. So somebody who's definitely not coming to the Eagles, Honey Badger, he was talked about. I saw people reporting, oh, yeah, I hear a deal is imminent. The deal's not imminent until you see it. Honey Badger is not coming to Philly. He's going to New Orleans. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not surprised. I mean, I know there was interest on the Eagles' end. I know there was interest on his end, but it seemed like New Orleans was going to be his likely destination. And when you look at the final contract terms, 3 years, $33 million, $18 million guaranteed, Eagles just weren't going to match that. Tyrann Mathieu has accomplished pretty much everything you need to for a player in an NFL career. Now he gets a chance to go home and play in front of his hometown state, his hometown fans, played at LSU, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it's a good fit for what they do, what Dennis Allen does on defense. It would have been nice to see him here, but it did not look like that was a possibility. I know a friend of ours, Victor Williams, Honey Badger, kind of went after him a bit on Twitter there last
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say anything to Vic. I mean, I wouldn't embrace it. I wouldn't deny it. I just would have been like, yeah, okay. I still like to know how Honey Badger saw that, but
no, that's what I haven't talked with our buddy about this. You name dropped him, but I'll allow to remain nameless. But I've had people say things, and I mean, to that extent, it's pretty cool that he was even able to see it. So, like you said, I would have just kept it moving.
Yeah, that's how I would. Like, if I've had players respond to me a couple times, I was just like, "Yo, guys, you got the number."
Obviously, it meant something to you if you read it and you wanted to respond. You know that your responses are public.
He's very active on Twitter. I will say that. I always had a good relationship with him. He was with the Chiefs. He always liked a lot of stuff I posted about the Chiefs. Not necessarily about him, but like his teammates, like Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes. You could tell he was really close with a lot of those guys. And it's a shame it didn't work out in Kansas City. But Andy Reid, he's always been good at getting rid of players a year earlier than he should. So
absolutely,
I don't think the deal would have worked out as great as Eagles fans would have hoped.
Even moved McNabb a year early. Even McNabb.
A lot of the players, Bobby Taylor, Troy Vincent, Jeremiah Trotter was never really the same player after he left Philly the first time. I mean, he had a couple Pro Bowls, but he wasn't the axe man. He wasn't the
No,
force he was the
no.
first stint. He was a great player, but
Mhm.
wasn't that same type of guy.
Absolutely. What do you think about I haven't had a chance to ask you is how you feel about the Tyreek Hill move? Do you think that was silly on his part, or do you think that he's already won a championship and it's time to just get his money?
I don't blame him. I really don't blame him for wanting to get his money. I think I would have stayed there and played with Patrick Mahomes my entire career and had nobody doubt. But maybe it's a prove it to yourself. Like, hey, look, I can do this without Patrick Mahomes. I did it without Patrick Mahomes. I can still do it without Patrick Mahomes. I just think he wanted to play where he lives in the all season, where he lives, where he trains in Miami. I think that was the one place he wanted to go, and I think he saw an opportunity to go there. And he's fortunate that there's an organization like the Kansas City Chiefs that treated him with respect and said, you know what, you did so much for us. We can't make this work. Let us do this for you. And I'm kind of glad, like, it was able to work on both sides. I think the Chiefs are still really good. I love the Sky Moore pick for them. I love how they got MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Juju. I think there's a lot more in store there. They're really going to miss Tyreek Hill, but I'm excited to see what Tyreek can do with Tagovailoa.
I'm interested to see it as well, but I think it's going to take a hit. Statistical output is going to take a hit because you need, unless Gesicki really takes a major step forward, because a player like Tyreek, you really need to clear out the middle of the field so that he can do the run after the catch, or safeties have to bite down to try to, you kind of pick your poison with Kelsey.
Because Gesicki is a tight end, but he doesn't really play tight end. He plays a lot of slot because he's always been a pass catching tight end. And he's actually a good blocker when they put him down there. They just haven't done that. And if he really wanted to fight this, I think he would and make about $17 million next year. But he's not that type of guy. Never was at Penn State. I think he looks at it as, look, I'm fortunate to make $10 million in the NFL, and I'm fortunate the Miami Dolphins still want me around. And that's good for him. I think Miami's got a lot of good team guys on that team.
Oh yeah.
And Tyreek Hill was a good team player too for a lot of years. Everybody likes to get on him, but he's a really good team player too. I think he fits in with that culture.
Every team in the NFL can use a guy like Tyreek Hill. I think he might be the fastest guy to ever put on shoulder pads that I've seen. People say Deion Sanders was that kind of fast. A few other guys.
I'll tell you what, I don't know if you remember Deion. Man, I remember the days when Deion could play receiver and play defensive back. He lined up at receiver 40%.
Oh my gosh.
Dallas, when Dallas lost like Alvin Harper, and I'm trying to remember who else was injured for them. Harper left as a free agent. I'm trying to remember who was injured for them in '96, but they basically needed Deion to play wide receiver, and Aikman just throw it up and he catch it. He caught a pass against Dawkins on Monday Night Football one time, caught a pass against Taylor on Monday Night Football one time. I'm like, this guy plays two positions. What are you doing? And I'm like 8, 9 years old. I'm like, this can't be happening. But Deion, he was fun to watch. I don't know. The fastest player I think I've ever seen, Devin Hester's pretty fast.
Yeah.
It's tough. I think Randy Moss, his rookie year, was the fastest player I've ever seen.
Top end speed, but Hill's acceleration.
Oh yeah, Hill's acceleration is second to none. There are a couple guys like that, but yeah, I think Tyreek Hill and Deshaun Jackson's acceleration are two players.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's funny, like, you don't realize it, but when Deshaun Jackson eventually does hang him up, he could retire this offseason. I'm not sure if he's going to. But when you look at all the long touchdowns, the 40, 50-yard touchdowns, he's right up there with Jerry Rice and all those guys. Like,
he's a fringe Hall of Famer.
He is, and he's going to get consideration for it. Now, will he get in? I don't know. But look, I think Brian Mitchell should be a Hall of Famer based on how good he was and what he did for 10, 15 years in the league. And he's not in. So that's where it's going to make it tough for Deshaun Jackson. But you just never know. If he got a Super Bowl ring, I think the narrative would be different for him.
He's fringe, and what a lot of people who are like Hall of Fame like enthusiasts, what they say is if you have to think about it, then the answer is no. So I can hear that argument, maybe that Deshaun. If I had to say, I would probably leave him out, but I would be excited for him. I still have his jersey and everything.
Actually, a little secret, they think about these players all the time. So that's kind of like, I know that's the adage, but there are 50 guys in that room that you make a case for them and they get in. Dick Vermeil, Sam Mills are two of them. So, and they're in this year's class. Tony Baselli, they've been fighting that case for years. It all depends. The year of the class. I mean, I thought Dawkins got in a lot earlier than I initially thought he was going to get in, but a lot of people thought like I thought and knew he was a really good player for a long time.
Dawkins is a lot better at his position, his profession, than that top end that Dawkins got to is way higher, in my opinion, than where Jackson got. There are a lot of guys.
Well, the thing is, too, it's hard for receivers to get in. I mean,
Yeah.
Torrey Holt's not in yet, and I thought Torrey Holt was a great player for a decade. So
a lot better than Deshaun as well.
Exactly, and like he's gonna have to wait. Like Dawkins, I think they knew. They're like, okay, this guy was always criminally underrated. They always talked about Ed Reed. They always saw Troy Polamalu, but the real ones knew how good Brian Dawkins was for a lot of years.
Are there guys like Sean Taylor, somebody who comes to mind? Are there, and obviously you work at CBS Sports, so you know a lot of these things. Are there like, is there like a posthumous kind of like guys who died early?
It's hard. It's hard for guys like Sean Taylor. Like he just didn't play long enough, unfortunately. Yeah. It's a shame. Like it's a shame what happened with Sean Taylor. I mean, I think he's one of those guys who just say, you know, what could have been, or what track he was on, because he was a really good football player, Matt. As you know, I loved watching him play. I just kind of put my head down when I heard the news that fateful day in 2007 when he passed. I was just like, man, were we robbed of something, and it wasn't even on his volition, that's what sucks. It's, even when you lose a guy like Dwayne Haskins, it's like, man, so young, you hate to see that. You hate to see that happen to anybody, but that's what makes it so tough. And, as soon as Sean Taylor passed away, I had to watch like an old game of his, like on YouTube. And this is when YouTube was still in its infancy. And what game did I put on? The game where he jacked up the punter in the Pro Bowl. I still laugh at it.
You would, they charge you with a crime if you hit somebody like that in the Pro Bowl now.
Oh, it was great. I still remember watching. I was down in my basement with my dad. I was like on the treadmill. We're just watching the game. And all of a sudden you just see Sean Taylor just go boom, right? I think it was Brian Moorman he hit.
It's like a car crash.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, this guy just doesn't care. I love it.
Oh my! It's one of the, you really can't get hit much harder than that. That punter was just totally not.
He's a beast in college. Man, that Miami team was so good. They had so many players. Him, John Vilma, Shockey, Kellen Winslow, Frank Gore, Willis McGahee, Clinton Portis, and I'm forgetting people already. Santana Moss. They were so good for so long. Jerome McDougal was really good on that team. I know he wasn't good with the Eagles, but he was good on that team. And
Ed Reed,
Ed Reed was on that team. I remember Penn State beat Ed Reed in '99. Edgerrin James they were trying to replace Edgerrin James at the time. I think McGahee was like a freshman or something on that Miami team. They were just so good for so long. Ken Dorsey was the quarterback. Now he's the offensive coordinator of the Bills. It's funny how life works now. So I'll tell you what, people probably remember Ken Dorsey more being a coach now than he was a quarterback, and he won a lot too.
Those teams are just so loaded. Those early 2000s. I'm sorry, Florida, the U.
Yeah, don't disrespect the U like that, Matt. Come on now, don't call them Florida.
Sorry, the U. And I believe that's where Dwayne Johnson went as well.
He did. Yeah, he did go there. The ESPN Classic used to show old Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson games back in the day. I'm telling you, Matt, that was when SportsCenter was king. Like, all these content creators now, they have no idea, man, what we grew up with. Football was so much fun in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Absolutely. So a player that everybody in Philadelphia has universal love and respect for, Nick Foles, has been released once again. The journeyman's journeyman is once again on another journey. What do you think do they have hesitancy in bringing Nick Foles back to Philly because they don't think he's worth having on the team, or is it because of it's kind of that it's not going to go anywhere, that he's going to be the career backup, and he hasn't accepted that yet? What's the hang up there?
So I think there's other spots for Nick Foles to go to. And the Eagles have a backup. They have Gardner Minshew. It's not like they're desperate for a backup quarterback. And I look at Nick Foles kind of like how I looked at Cole Hamels when he left the Phillies. Last game he played with the Phillies, he pitched a no-hitter. Nick Foles left the Eagles on probably the highest of terms as a godlike figure, pretty much, right? BDN, all that. Got a statue of the guy. Look, I'm not even worried about Jalen Hurts. That's not even the thing. That's not even the thing.
No.
I just think they have a backup quarterback in Gardner Minshew. I could see Nick Foles. I'll make this short. I could see Nick Foles reuniting with Doug Pearson in Jacksonville, Frank Reich in Indianapolis, maybe giving Seattle a shot, Andy Reid in Kansas City. There are a bunch of places for Nick Foles to end up if he wants to continue playing football.
Okay, but it's just time to move on. That's how both sides feel.
It's it's funny. I talk about this with family members all the time. Let's just say they caught lightning in the bottle in 2017, and the city's thankful for it. That you can never take that banner away. You can't take that trophy away. And Nick Foles did what a lot of Philly fans didn't think he could do, and that was take the Eagles to the Super Bowl. So I think we'll leave his legacy at that.
What do you think? A new player who's beginning a new legacy, A.J. Brown. Do you think that they're going to use A.J. Brown in the Deebo Samuel's role, or do you think that they're going to?
They could. I think he's more of a deep threat. I think he's going to be the Y to Devonta Smith's X. I think Smith's going to be the possession guy. But again, you can put Smith out deep too. Like, we didn't get to see that much last year because he was the only option. But A.J. Brown just stretches the field so much for that team. And I think he's a guy that when you get the ball in A.J. Brown's hands, it's a big play waiting to happen. Outside Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown has the most 40-yard touchdowns since 2019. So he has the most 40-yard catches since 2019 outside of Tyreek Hill. He's a big play threat, and you can use him in the slot. You can use him in multiple formations and in multiple ways, Matt. So that's how I'm looking at A.J. Brown. I think they're going to use him mostly as a deep threat, but I can see them using him in the Deebo Samuel role, but I don't want to see him get 50 carries a year. But I think they'll use him on a couple of running plays for sure.
And Quez more so in the slot?
Yeah, I think Quez is a natural fit in there. I think Quez could have a big year in the slot because those two are out there. You got to account for him, right? Yet, I don't think you worry about Quez Watkins before A.J. Brown.
No.
Now you got to worry about Quez Watkins. Now Quez Watkins is where he should be.
A 3. I just couldn't get with before the season and during the preseason last year, which was exciting. He's a good player. He has good, great acceleration, as we were talking about earlier with other players. He's a very fast player. But if Quez Watkins is your number 2, your starting number 2, your passing attack is going to be what it was last. And Quez was actually more so our number 3 or 4 because we were trying to give Jalen Reagor. We were keeping Reagor on the field.
Yeah, exactly. They were giving Jalen Reagor every opportunity to seize that role. He just couldn't do it, and he wasn't good. And it's unfortunate because I like Jalen Reagor a lot. I hope he finds success elsewhere, but doesn't look good for him. But this is what I got upset with the whole Quez Watkins thing. James Thrash did the exact same stuff Quez Watkins would do when he was here. I don't know if people remember James Thrash or if they just think James Trash or whatever, but James Thrash was a good receiver, but he wasn't a 1 and he wasn't a 2, and the Eagles made him 1. And I'm glad the Eagles are seeing that with Quez Watkins now. They're like, look, we found a 6th-round pick that can play, that can stick around this league. Let's make him what he is. A 3 receiver, someone in the slot, someone can work with Zach Pascal. I think they can interchange. I think Quez Watkins is going to play a major role in this offense this year.
Yes.
It's just he's not a wide receiver 2. That's fine.
And I think their roster moves, they picked up a tight end in the draft, but I don't think this team – I think this team is now completely moving away from like a 12 personnel kind of team. They want to go 4 wide. And have a tight end maybe on the field.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the other thing. We're talking about draft picks, right? Grant Calcaterra. He's going to be a nice little fit for them. He was good at Oklahoma. And then, you know, he had the concussion thing and he quit. And everybody likes to overblow the whole, oh, he was a firefighter. Not everybody's Danny Watkins, dude. And first off, he wasn't really a firefighter. He wanted to be a firefighter. He was, you know, he was an EMT. Look, a lot of people quit their profession.
Yeah.
To do something else. I'm sure I've done it. You've probably done it at some point in your life.
Yep.
Like I bet people would love to know Jeff Kerr was a banker for 3 months. Like, you know, I hated it. And I left. Yeah. But I was still doing like my thing. I was just to make some bank, but
exactly.
I hated it. So I found a full-time job covering sports and I got lucky and, you know, I'm here where I am today, you know, 10 years later. But
it doesn't mean you don't love it. It just means that sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly. And Grant Calcaterra, I mean, look, he's a 6th-round pick. You can't ask for much of the guy, but I think he could be their tight end too, or, you know, play a role in there. I mean, because who knows how long Tyree Jackson's going to be out. It's unfortunate what happened to him last year.
I like Stoll down on the goal line.
Yeah, like he has a role on this team. He's just, can you rely on him to potentially play 30, 40% of the snaps? Probably not.
No, and if there's a game where Goddard is down, hopefully not, but if there's a game where Goddard is down, Calcaterra, that he's still a threat, even though I think he's a bit of a body catcher. I think he's really quick to bring it into his chest or whatever the case. He doesn't really cleanly grab it out of the air. I think he could still be a threat.
I tell you, he's going to be more of an F tight end. You're going to see him playing the slot a lot. He can line up in the backfield as like a fullback. You're going to see them use him in like different ways, and he's not a bad pass blocker either. So I think that's where the tight end 2 thing comes in.
Another conversation about somebody else who might be tight end 2, J-Jaw. What do you?
I forgot about him. I forgot he was on the team.
They have now moved J-Jaw to tight end.
Yeah, I know that. I just always forget he's on the team. Like when I even write about him, I just forget about him. I mean, honestly, like, I don't know. There are always going to be people that are going to remind you that Howie Roseman took J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf. Well, so did the Arizona Cardinals and so did the Indianapolis. Right. What's your point?
Right.
You know, it's up for. And by the way, I'm just glad A.J. Brown's here because now that pipe dream of DK's coming here. I know DK Metcalf likes Jalen Hurts. I'll say that. I think a lot of people like Jalen Hurts, but it looks like DK Metcalf's going to be staying in Seattle.
And I think a player like I think a player like AJ Brown both is better than a better fit than a DK, like a big receiver. Like a Julio Jones is a great player. Devontae Adams is a great player, but does he necessarily fit? You're not asking Jalen to throw a lot of jump balls or tight window throws. You really want to get the run going, the play action going, and hit somebody deeper or in the intermediate area, and then them be able to make a play. So I think it's just a better fit overall.
Yeah, I would agree. It's, it's tough. I mean, honestly, it's tough. Like guys like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and honestly, Matt, this is just how I look at guys like him. I think when you switch positions like he does, I think it's more of we're trying to find a reason to kind of keep you around probably longer than you should. I mean, him and Rager, they're cut candidates right now. This is what I wanted to ask you. Do you think anybody would trade for Jalen Rager?
Hell no.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think you just keep him, and you hope he makes the team, right? That's. I'm saying with J-Jaw, like I don't know.
I think you said it well earlier. You were talking. You gotta fan Twitter is a little funny, but you gotta take it for what it is. And some of these ideas, like people thinking you're going to throw Jalen Rager into a trade and be able to move up into the second round, or
they play too much Madden, man. That's why I don't play Madden anymore. It's just reloading rosters at this point.
It's just well, yeah, guys. It's not serious. Jalen Rager. We get to that's the thing about when you're trading players that are on your team. If you're looking to shop them, they know that you're getting a look at them every day, and you're watching Jalen. Everybody saw Jalen Reagor drop that ball against the Giants at the end of the game. Everybody, every team in the league.
You know, it was funny. So I was heading to Baltimore for Sunday Night Football when that happened, right? And I could get the impression when Merle Reese was calling it, and when I got there, first thing I walk in, did you guys see the Jalen Reagor drop? Did you see the Jalen Reagor drop, Jeff? I'm like, no, I'm 2 hours away. I can't see the Jalen Reagor drop yet. So they showed me it on their phones. I'm like, oh my God, he's bad. Like, I think that was when I kind of cut the cord on Jalen Reagor. It's unfortunate. It does look like now he's on his way out based on his Instagram and stuff. But again, I'm sure people are going to try to decode that a million times as well.
As a number 5, I'm willing to, and I think that's what Howie Roseman is doing. They got to just be saying, you know what? He's got nothing to lose. We got AJ Brown. He's under no assumptions that he needs to play number 2. He knows Quez is better than him. He knows we're going to make sure Quez is on the field.
What sucks about Jalen Reagor, and it's no fault of his own, he was the guy that was picked ahead of Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
It's not his fault the Eagles picked him.
It's not, but
he
didn't need
to be better than what you were, unfortunately.
He's not even half as good as Justin Jefferson, though, and that's what I'm saying.
As Freddie Mitchell. Like, at least Freddie Mitchell did some stuff in his Eagles career.
Jalen Reagor's got like probably 5 or 6 catches that I remember, and I was like, oh, okay, good catch. In 3 years?
Yeah.
That's good.
He caught that touchdown pass against the Falcons late in the game.
He had one in his first game against the Commanders.
I shouldn't even say it. They weren't even them then. It was the football team. It was. I just said that too, because they haven't been that in years.
Maybe it might have been the last year of that team name though.
No, I think they were the football team in 20 and 21. They were. I don't even like to say the name.
No, but it's a historical football thing. Totally,
it is. It's weird too, because like when I go on PFR, and again, this is always a debate we can have another time. But when I go on PFR, it does say Washington, you know what? And it was funny when they told me, when they're like, okay, don't say it. I'm like, done. Like, that's easy. Like, I wasn't really calling them that to begin with. I was writing stories, but I was saying that's who they were. But it's easy to call them Washington.
Absolutely. But when you those teams are wearing jerseys that say this. That's why it's interesting and it matters. But if someone's referring to stuff that happened during that era, I mean, I think that it's relevant. Obviously,
it's a tough thing. Like, it really is. I feel like you would have to ask someone who was a fan or someone in that group, because I can't understand. I really can't. It's one of those. I'll defer it to you, and you can tell me. I'm a listener. I'm not a teller. I'm a listener.
Well, that's all.
Again, now we're going to get into it. Conversation. Well,
no. And Jeff, you know I keep my political stuff off of here, so I'm gonna let the listeners keep themselves in suspense of where I likely land on this. But thank you. So on the defensive side of the ball, we got ourselves a space eater, a human refrigerator. Jordan Davis. What do you think about that pickup, and what do you think that will he be able to be a force multiplier on the plus side or more of a liability?
I wrote about this for CBSSports.com. Just basically about the Eagles draft. I love the pick. I love how they traded up to get the pick. I think the only thing I didn't like about it was Kyle Hamilton was there, and that's nothing against Jordan Davis. I think Kyle Hamilton's going to be a stud in this league too.
Yeah.
I think it was just pick what good player you want, and they needed a guy like Jordan Davis up the middle. They needed to improve their pass rush. And is Jordan Davis's college stats worth the hype? No, but he's going to be so much better because he's a massive human being, and he is going to clog up that A gap in the middle so much because you can play him at nose, you can play him, line him up between the center and the guard, and he's going to make a difference for you. And that allows Milton Williams to go outside. That allows more flexibility for Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. It's really going to help out Sam Reddick and Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham. We always forget he's back, but he's back, and that's going to help. Even with Derek Barnett, I think the Eagles are going to get to the quarterback a lot because of their defensive tackle rotation next year. Oh, by the way, they also have Marlon. I can never say his last name. Their 6th-round pick.
Toluapu or
yes, that is how you say it. That is how you say it.
Okay.
That's one of those names I just could never say. When they drafted J.J. Ortega-Whiteside, I used to call him Arcega in college.
Yes.
So
it's Spanish.
I never realized it was Ortega.
Thega. Yeah. It's the from Spain. I think it's Castilian. Or
yeah.
Catalan.
I don't know. I can't pronounce names right unless someone tells me.
So they also somehow got Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round.
How did they pull that off? How did he fall? I still don't know how he fell. And I've asked people, and they're like, well, someone said this. I'm like, so someone said this. Everybody shied away from him. Like, I know linebackers aren't as valuable as they used to be, but to fall to 83, like, did people think he was going to be out for the year?
No, I saw that. They actually said that there were murmurs that he would have a redshirt year. I don't know where that came from, but inside of NFL circles, they're going to find that out. And if Nakobe Dean plays multiple games for the Eagles and plays well, somebody's going to pay for that decision. Multiple teams passed this guy up. That's silly.
He's a leader and a baller. That's all I got to say about him. It's, it was funny in the 1st round. If the Eagles would have drafted linebacker, I would have said, well, draft Devin Lloyd because he can do this, he can do this, he can do this. You can get Nakobe Dean if you trade down. No, they got him right at 83. I never would have guessed that. When they drafted Cam Jurgens, I'm like, wow, they passed on Nakobe Dean, but they must know something. And then when you got to 60, you're starting to think, man, how far is this guy going to fall? And
with my Liberty line, folks, I've been telling all along, I've been talking about maybe Dean at 15 or 18 after we traded away, even after when we had
January, it was a surefire bet he was going to be top 15.
I was thinking that would be our first guy, maybe in consideration to be the first guy taken off the board, and we get him at 83.
You know what it was, Matt? I feel like it's like a high school rumor. It was just misunderstanding, and people roll with it.
I would not be too shocked that kind of thing would.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in the front office, you hear stuff and you're hearing it from multiple people. Do you really take a shot on this guy like that high when you have other pressing needs?
But in the third round,
in the 3rd round, who cares? Like, do you do it in the 1st? No. In the 2nd, it's risky. I mean, look at all the backlash the Eagles got for taking Jalen Hurts.
Great decision.
Yeah, it's working out well for him. I remember when they drafted Jalen Hurts that night. I'm like, I don't hate this. I don't. It's, he gets better every year. And I think in the 2nd round, sometimes you got to take the proven commodity. And Hurts was that. And same with Cam Jurgens. He's a proven commodity.
I'm just a big investor in the backup quarterback position. I really do agree.
I've always been one.
Yeah.
Eagles have always had to use one for basically the bane of my entire existence. Randall Cunningham told me how important a backup quarterback was.
Because you're going to have to use him. Just you even if it's a player 2 or 3, if your guy is just trash in the middle of a game, in the middle of a hard-fought game, somebody sticks the crown of their helmet in your quarterback's chest and he's wheezing for a second. He needs a breather. He'll come back on. But at those 5, 8, 12 plays that your backup quarterback has, he throws 2 picks, you're out of games.
I know Peyton Manning never got hurt, but man, did they take a risk with Jim Sorgi and Curtis Painter all those years? If Peyton Manning they were done. They were finished. And they were fortunate, but that's not like that anymore.
No.
Even with Patrick Mahomes, you just never know. You never know.
And that's why I have bringing up my point of view. I like Gardner Minshew. I think he's fine. I don't think that he's necessarily better than Nick. But even if it's not Nick,
he wasn't 2 years ago. I'll say that when Nick was in Jacksonville. but that's the guy they went with, and that's who that's who Doug Marrone wanted to go with. I don't think Gardner Minshew's bad. I just don't think he's good. I'll tell you what, as someone who's covered Gardner Minshew, he's very entertaining.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, A+ entertainment value.
Yeah, I mean, and he had a really good game against the Jets. It was, but then I knew people were going to call for him to replace Jalen Hurts, and I wrote from the game. I wrote a critical article saying, "Do the Eagles do this? Do they consider doing this?" And it was a no, but he gave him at least reason to think about it.
Oh yeah,
that's all it was, and that's all I was pointing out. Like, he gave Nick Sirianni a reason to think, even though Nick Sirianni was going to go back to him, and I even wrote that. But it's there. There was enough there where you could say, "Hey, let's give this a shot." And how bad was Jalen Hurts' end? That's the other thing I wrote. How bad was Jalen? Well, it turned out it was pretty bad because Hurts is not mobile at the end of the year.
There's a certain person who covers the team that I'll tell you offline. But I reading between the tea leaves and power mapping, I figured out that this guy has a really good in with Howie. And the week before, as soon as Jalen had that like turned ankle, and they started talking about, oh yeah, well, do they just start discussing playing Garner just for a week to give Jalen a week? Garner played well, but he didn't have a 500-yard game or anything like that. It was more if he would have taken the quarterback job, it would have been more of an indictment of Jalen Hurts as opposed to because Garner didn't play that well and can't play that well.
Well, he played really well against the 31st ranked defense in football.
Yes.
So that's really what it was. And, it was a shame because I went to New York. I wanted to see Jalen Hurts. I kind of wanted to see the Eagles bounce back after that bad loss, and they did. But I'll say this: they might have lost to the Jets if Gardner Minshew didn't play as well as he did in that first half.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, all things aside, it's I think they could get something for Gardner Minshew if they really wanted to.
They probably do. I don't think that he's in the upper echelon of backup quarterbacks in the league, but I don't think he's like anybody that any team would go, I'm going to go ahead and roll with them for the rest of the year. Like if Jalen Hurts were to get hurt in week 2, would they be willing to say, oh, we're not going to make a move before the break or deadline? Absolutely not.
No, not at all. So, man, it's one of those things with this team where I feel like the backup quarterback's always going to be the most popular athlete in Philadelphia. He always was. Corey Detmer, AJ Feely, Mike McMahon, Jeff Garcia, you name them. Michael Vick. Kevin Cobb, yeah, exactly. Nick Foles, multiple times. Chase Daniel. Maybe not Chase Daniel.
Chase Daniel.
Definitely Nick Foles.
Mark Sanchez.
Oh, yeah, Mark Sanchez. Well, I was all on the whole let's get rid of Sam Bradford for Mark Sanchez train because I think Sam Bradford was terrible.
He's a bum.
I won't call him a bum, but he was terrible. I can't believe Chip Kelly traded Nick Foles for Sam Bradford.
Especially at that point, because he was on a power trip.
He was. He single-handedly ruined the organization. Dark times, man. Not as dark as 2012 or the TO year in 2005, but that team is a tough year.
I don't know. That was pretty tough. That was really bad. The low point of that season was the Buccaneers came to Philly and just poured it on that next year. I think they beat them like 41-6 in Philly.
Well, you know what happened 4 days later, right?
4 days after
thrashed them on Thanksgiving.
The who thrashed them on Thanksgiving?
Detroit did. Remember, they got killed by the Bucs and then they got killed by the Lions.
Yeah, 15. That's why I'm saying those are dark times. Like,
I don't know. Dominic Knapp throwing an interception for a touchdown and then being out for the season on a year he's playing with a sports hernia was pretty bad. The year after they go to the Super Bowl, that was tough. And they were still like in the race. Like they were still kind of hanging on, but it was hanging by a thread. And they already suspended T.O. And, that was a tough year.
Getting swept by the Cowboys three games the
That was
year
a
after
tough
we
year
went to
too. And they were a good team that year too. They were 11-5. It's just they couldn't beat them.
and got blown out in Dallas at McNabb's last game.
So the
Vic
first
threw
year
the
I really
touchdown.
remember watching them was 95, right? They're not as good as the Cowboys. Cowboys are the best team in football. But they upset them in December, and that led to their playoff berth. And they have a big playoff win over Detroit, and you're like thinking, okay, like this team's going to will their way to a Super Bowl, even though they weren't that good.
No.
Rodney Peete was their quarterback, right?
I had Rob Carpenter on a few weeks ago.
Rob Carpenter is the man, by the way. I love Rob Carpenter. He caught that touchdown, and he caught that Hail Mary right for the half. And
yes.
But that next week they played Dallas, and oh my God, it was 27-3 before the blink of an eye. And Randall had to come in because Rodney Peete got hurt, and he looked like he didn't even want to be there. In fact, I think he later said he never even prepared to play in that game.
That's the thing with Randall. What could have been?
Injuries hurt. He was a really good quarterback. He was, but bad O-line led to a lot of injuries.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts of this Kyron Johnson guy that the Eagles picked up?
He's a bull rusher. I like him. I don't look too much in the 6th-round pick. I think he'll be a good special teamer for him. I'll just leave it at that. Like I think he can help in the rotation. I think he's going to be more of a special teams guy for them this year.
Okay. So if folks are watching, if they're watching the video feed, every few seconds, either Jeff or I go peek.
Yeah, we're watching a certain basketball team right now.
Yeah. Those guys.
Yeah, they were leading at halftime. What happened?
They're still hanging in there.
They're down 9, but yes.
Very, very, very much hanging in there without arguably the league MVP. Would you have given objectively? Would you have given Embiid this league MVP this year?
I would, because of the Ben Simmons stuff. Because he did not know Ben Simmons was coming back. We did not know if Ben Simmons was coming back to this team in November. We thought he was, and he never did. And then the whole mental health thing and the cell phone thing and him going into it with Doc, because there was a time this year I thought Ben Simmons was actually going to come back to this team and play. Just kind of get over everything, let bygones be bygones, and he never did. And B had to carry this team, and Tyrese Maxey ended up becoming a really good player. Like people seem to forget how good Joel Embiid. You're seeing the MVP right now. What the Sixers would be doing if Joel Embiid was playing, they'd be probably winning this game right now.
Big time. I think the Sixers end up stealing one of the first two without Embiid, and I think they get it in 6. What do you think is going to happen?
I have them winning in 6. I think they need to get one of these games in Miami, though, but they don't. I don't think.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying that they have to win game 1 tonight, but I feel like they got to put pressure on Miami, and to do that, you got to take 1 on the road, and then you take your chance. I honestly think it's going to be 2-2 after 4. If I was betting me, I would say it's going to be tied after 4 games, and then we'll see what happens. I think game 5 will determine the series.
The game 1 or 2 is almost a must win, because you don't want to have to come back to Philly with game 3 as a must win. You're going to come up short if that's the case.
That's how I look at this series. Everybody gets upset over what happened. I said, you know what? Now that he's hurt, I picked them to win, but I don't think you're going to win this series. So you just got to take 1 in Miami and see what happens.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, Jeff, thanks again for coming on. It's great always talking birds with you. We could talk for hours, but we got a very important game to pay close attention to as we get into the 4th. So if you if you like the Sixers, you'll probably want to do that as well. But Jeff, tell the people where we can follow along and show you some support.
So you can follow me at Jeff Kerr CBS. On Twitter. You can read myself on CBSSports.com. I'm also on Jacob Media. Subscribe to Jacob Media YouTube channel. I usually come on Birds365 or one of their content I'm using on there. Usually on Birds 365 about once a week. Sometimes I guest host on there, so that's where you can find me there. You can also listen to me Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:30 on 97.3 ESPN. I'm everywhere, Matt. You know that.
I know that. I just want to make sure that people know that they can get some realistic Philly take. Jeff is one of the few folks who's not like absolutely ridiculous. Like, does it like if he has a team. If you've been listening, you can tell that he has a couple teams that he likes, but he's actually really still analyzing the sport. He's not going to tell you the Birds about to go 16-0 and be the number one defense of the number one offense.
I keep it real. I keep it real with every fan base. I think that's why a lot of fan bases like me. It's, I'm not going to say your team sucks unless they really do suck. Like, last year, I thought I was keeping it real the whole year when I said the Dallas Cowboys didn't play anybody. Everybody goes, you're an Eagles fan. I'm like, I'm an Eagles fan. Don't you get that? Like, I used to be. I cover the NFL now. Like, I'm just telling you, they're not that good. Like, they're way better than the Eagles. They're way better than anybody in the NFC East. They're just not a Super Bowl team like ESPN and all them are making them out to be.
Just like we were trying, I believe we were both trying to tell people that Dallas game, that 56-21, was the most fool's gold game ever.
Oh, it was. And I'm like, okay, congrats. Like, go beat the 49ers next week. And I picked the 49ers. And there was a reason. I thought the 49ers were a terrible matchup for them. And they ended up being one. And I mean, Dallas was lucky they got back into that game. And then I was waiting for the apology from Twitter. I didn't get it. But Dallas Cowboys writers, they say, hey, man, good for you, man. You called it.
Don't ever expect a apology from ridiculous people on Twitter.
No,
I'm sure you already know.
I don't need an apology. I don't need anything really. I just tweet my thoughts. Tweet my thoughts on football. That's it. No one needs to know anything about my private life or anything like that. I think the only time I've gotten personal on Twitter was when my dog passed away last year. So.
Sorry to hear that, my man.
Yeah, it sucks.
We'll follow him on Twitter, Jeff Kerr, CBS. Thanks again for coming on, man. Take care.
Sounds good, Matt. Thanks for having me on, my friend.
Yep.